look around the temples in Egypt, when you go to Karnak, when you go to so many different places down in Abu Simbel as well with Ramses II, you see it's all laid out in a form, in a way to show you the body and the importance of it. In order for you to build the mind, you have to build the body first. And the Egyptians understood that. So again, what is the best thing to attack if you want to impede that process? The body, but also the mind as well. So the mind goes, the body goes. If you tame the mind, you can attack the body. And it's a mindset. I always talk about that. Mindsets, things that we have been conditioned to do. Eating is one, the things that we see. It's a wonder, the main consumed food that we see across America, burgers and fries, starches and things of that nature, things that we really shouldn't put in our body on a regular basis. It's just something you got to really start thinking about and understanding. One, we see the sick things that this government is responsible for and these people do. We can't just sit around and think that, they're going to just do the right thing as it pertains to food, especially if it's going to, decrease their profits. So we got to look at that, and you got to start really researching and studying these people that make these foods and what they're doing to our foods. So many people in the Black community is dependent on, welfare and food stamps. The white community as well, and a lot of people are getting a limited amount of money to buy food, so they have to buy, what tastes good and what's the cheapest as possible, to sustain themselves and to maintain. And it's just crazy, and it's a system that's really attacking you spiritually and mentally and physically, and it's something that you got to be really vigilant about. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to put out the Mystery School 4 video, to put that piece out. So many questions. A lot of you guys are seriously smart, as I always say. And a lot of people wanted to understand what's up with the Freemasons. What is up with building? What is that really about? How do they hide the math and science and, everything within the building, of these structures? So as I said before, you got to look at the beginning. And in the beginning, there was nothing, absolutely nothing. As soon as you have one object, you create math. And it's what they see in the universe. They wanted to reflect on Earth, and they say as above, so below. And they did that with building these monuments to reflect the celestial bodies as well as, our earthly bodies, to say that they are one and the same. The energy you have is traveling out there. The body, the flesh that you have, this body we can see out there within, these physical things. And, we're all made up of atoms. And that's the whole importance, as I said before, of the Adam and Eve part. And I talked about that. And it's just so much out there that we can find in the ancient Egyptian civilization that's pertaining to us, and this is why they never focused on trying to move forward and to excel and grow, because there's really nothing more to it but to understand the body and the mind and true spirituality. There wasn't concern with building a super wealthy economy. Things were just the way they was because they was living a spiritual life. And again, if you get a people that come and don't understand true spirituality and only materialistic things, this is what's going to happen. They're going to take over because they want to take the materialism and not the spiritualism, or they want to try to make some kind of, perversion of the two to give us the reality that we see today. So it's full of fake spirituality and real materialism, and more people are following the materialism in truth than the real spirituality. Now, I want to say it took me over 10 years to build myself spiritually to the way I thought I should be at that point in time and my knowledge. So, I wanted to see changes in my dreams. I wanted to see changes in my energy. I wanted to see changes in meditation. And it seriously took, by about 10 years to actually really start seeing these things. You notice little subtle things as you go along, as far as, concentration, hand-eye coordination and stuff like that. You notice the change in dream. You go from, remembering dreams and having these dreams and having no dreams at all, was seen for a while, to, being able to actually become conscious and, experience different things in dreams and to control and manipulate within dreams, and it grows from there. There's so many different levels that you get to, but if you're not putting in the constant work, and as I said, Meditation Volume 2 will be out soon. If you're not putting in that constant work and building, your consciousness and trying to affect the dream state. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do, from making mental notes and from making your own music. for when you go to sleep. As I said before, that's something that I did, from, just you talking about what you want to achieve and you trying to speak to yourself within a dream state. When you are asleep, you can hear. We all know that. What you hear will affect the dream. Understand that. So while you are not understanding it or really hearing it consciously, of course, your subconscious is at work and it's picking up on it. And your subconscious is what projects the dream world, and it will project out what you are hearing. We all have been through it. I've been asleep before and watching Seinfeld and start dreaming about being in Seinfeld. So it's proof positive. We've seen it all the time, how, music and what we hear during our sleep can affect our dream. So why not listen to something while you're asleep that's going to benefit your reality, that's going to actually help you out? A long time ago, we talk about 1990s, really, they had these self-help tapes, and it was one of the biggest things that I seen that was like, well, wait a minute, this stuff works. And they had these self-help tapes where somebody's speaking to you, you listen to them while you sleep, somebody's speaking to you while you sleep and telling you things like trying to teach you a language, or talking to you about losing weight or what have you, things like that. And they worked. It was a big study done, and these things actually worked. And all of a sudden disappeared. They got bought up, the companies, and then nothing else got put out. And that was a hint right there to a lot of people to understand the power of listening to audio during sleep. If you're listening to Trey songs, you're listening to hip hop and all this stuff when you go to bed, it's going to reflect your reality. It's going to reflect your dream, but your reality as well. And this is what a lot of people do. And you got to understand, what you listening to and what you putting into your consciousness is going to reflect your reality. And this is one of the things that, I point out a lot in so many videos. So for those of you who actually follow and listen and watch all the videos, you know what I'm talking about, what we get into. But, a lot of people have absolutely no clue. They think it's spooky and that this stuff is just, weird fraud shit. But when you understand and when you practice and when you know and when you really participate in certain things, you see the results, and they are real results that really happen. And I don't really talk about my success, but I hint a little bit here and there. But I talk about my life before success and the stuff I went through growing up and everything, and how my life has completely changed since becoming conscious, since 2001, and starting to understand this information and starting to, change. And my life's changed. Everything has been reflected in a positive way. As I said before, I was way successful before YouTube. Before I started putting out these DVDs and videos and everything, I already had success. My thing was to show people, one, that you can obtain success by understanding history, understanding knowledge and who you are, and implementing these things within your life, and understanding, one, the system that you live in is designed for you to fail. We all know this. It's designed for you to fail, for you to die, for you to really die mentally, spiritually, physically. And if you understand that and have the understanding that, some sky daddy, some Jesus Christ or what have you is not coming to save you or change your life, that you have to do it yourself, then you act accordingly and you do things that what's going to make real change and really help you grow, and have a better life. So as I said in part 4, the brain has a dual nature. You have the left and you have the right side. So what the flax cerebri and the tentorium cerebelli did was actually create this separation of the upper and lower brain, separating the reptilian. The reptilian brain consists of the brainstem. It consists of pons. It consists of the cerebellum. The cerebellum is called the small brain. So when you understand this, and you understand this separation, as I talked about, that the flax cerebri is a sickle shape. And we see the sickle held by the god of Saturn, which will be Kronos, which will be Satan. Saturn is Satan. So in the Garden of Eden story, it's giving you this message right here. The separation happened, and we fell to a materialistic plane, which is basically the lower brain. And 95% of the decisions that we make decided by the lower brain, the reptilian brain. 95% of your decisions is decided by a materialistic lower brain, which is why they say Satan is the god of this world. Lower brain, this is a materialistic malakuf level. Lower brain, this is what we fell to. This is what we're dealing with, and we see it projected in our reality. Materialism everywhere you turn. So if you fall victim to it, which everybody has, this is what you will be dealing only in materialistic things. And That's, I gotta pay bills. I gotta, put food on the table. Of course, I want this car. I want this. I want that. I want what I see. I want what the system is projecting out to me as something that I should have. It's telling you what you should want and what you should have, and we're going out and getting it. So it's affecting us on a mental level. You have to change your mentality and understand what this stuff is in order for you to grow spiritually. Because if you don't, you're going to stay at that level. And this is basically all throughout the Bible when we start breaking it down. It's deep. It's crazy. As I said, we get into a whole series from Genesis to Revelation on the Bible, going through every single book and breaking it down. And I'm going to begin that soon. Actually, I already started it, but I'm going to start putting it out soon. But it's deep. And when you look at this stuff and you go back to, ancient Sumer or, Kemet, and, even in ancient China, Japan, or what have you, they talking about the same stuff, and as I said in the video, you have, with the whole complex in Giza, with the alignment of the stars in Orion's belt, the whole now aligning with the Milky Way, and, the Sphinx facing the sun as it's set in the east or what have you, and the constellation of Leo. You have these same alignments, in different countries. You have them in China. I showed you down in Mexico. You had these alignments during the spring equinox. And it's so many different cultures talking about the same thing, talking about the same spiritual things that we find in the ancient world, which is why they try to hide it from us. But it's dealing with the body, it's dealing with the brain, it's dealing with the understanding of how this stuff works and how it's going to help you grow spiritually. Talked about before about the living Horus. The living Horus is what they call all the pharaohs that preceded Horus, which would be, according to Egyptian mythology, the first ruling pharaoh. So they all call themselves the living Horus, and you find when they die themselves calling themselves the Osiris, because you have Horus, which is basically talking about the sun, the pineal gland, and then you have that dealing with life, and you have Osiris dealing with the afterlife, and this is who they said you would join in the afterlife. Talked about this in the Egyptian Book of the Dead DVD, and how you go through all that and what that stuff is really speaking to. So again, it all goes back to the body, to the brain, to the mind, to meditation, concentration, understanding your surroundings and your atmosphere and what you put in your body and what the system is really about, because it's a system and it has been created for us to have to deal with, to have to choose. And that's what life really is about. Choice. Your choices is going to determine your reality. So when I say that your consciousness is going to shape your reality, it's your choices that you make. So when people get into quantum physics and alternate universes and what have you, we're talking about choices here. And that's something we're going to get into more down the line. Choices. Because if you chose this way, your life went one way. If you chose the other way, it went a different way. Imagine if it's separate, universes where the choices you made was, different. And that's something to really think about and kind of makes sense when you start breaking it down on a quantum level. So this is why they get into all that stuff. We're talking about shaping reality and shaping, the way that your reality is and the way that your day-to-day is, the way that your life is. And if you're on a system where, you got to be to work, you got to do this, you got to do that, and it's not your time, it's somebody else's time that you constantly focused on, which is why, as I said before, Chronos, Satan deals with time, the god of time, because it's time that you're a slave to. You got to be to work at a certain time. So your day has to revolve around that time. And that is a construct. That is not you. That is not something you want to do. It's taking away, from your true purpose. So everything is about choice. And when you look at the choices that you made in life, you can see why you are at, where you are at. And, some people have, a reality that has been unfairly projected onto them. And now it's about the choices you make post that reality. So, even though you might be in a position that was forced on you by somebody else, now you have to make the correct choices to get out of those situations. You can't just dwell on that situation and say, them, their fault, when the opportunity is in front of you to move forward and to excel. And that's not pertaining to the system that we are in and stuck in, as Black people, but as your own personal, your own personal journey, your own personal way that you can get out of your situation there exist ways, and there's things that you can do to get up out of there as one individual. And that's the way we have to approach it. And if we all approached it that way as individuals and said, one, I need to do this, I need to make these changes, but at the same time understanding that we are a collective and we have to do things to, contribute to the collective, because if we do that, it'll help us grow individually as well. So there's a lot of ways, a lot of things that we can do as individuals to help our situation, but at the same time, we have to understand as a collective, we have to do even more things to just make the situation better. Because if you do that, as you move ahead and get to certain points, that work you put in right there to help the collective, when you get to certain points, you'll reap the benefits of that. And this is what we got to do in the Black community. We got to start really thinking differently and choosing differently and making different choices and understanding what's really important versus what has been given to us to seem important. And that's the bottom line. And, the body is, it's the temple. It's one of the most major things that, it's you. It's what you have to deal with. It's what your energy has, the vehicle it has to use to develop itself. And if you don't, do the right things with it, if you don't develop your mind, i.e. putting the right nutrients in your brain that you need to grow, and what's going to happen is you're going to fall deeper into this lower brain and deeper into the slave mentality, which is one of the reasons why they pushing vegan so hard and pushing vegetarian so hard as this thing. And, either way, you're trapped. And it's the problem with America. Either way, you're trapped, because if you go vegan, you're not getting the brain nutrients that you should get. But if you keep eating this meat, it's not prepared correctly. So if you don't own a farm or are butchering cattle yourself, you don't know if you're getting clean meat or not. You don't know. So you can only hope. So, this is something we got to be vigilant of and watch out for. So, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch. And those of you who have supported and ordered the DVD and purchased or downloaded or what have you, thanks for the support. Definitely follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at The Real Merkabah. See you guys next video.